What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Chuds BBQ. My name is Bradley Robinson, and today I'm going to show you how I made this. Beautiful, delicious, medium rare, spicy, cheesy, amazing blackened ribeye with the Gorgonzola cheese sauce. Coming up. This is some meat. Ooh, pat it dry. And what I got here is an absolutely beautiful looking bone-in ribeye. I picked this up from my friends over at Porter Road, and I gotta say, I'm very pumped with the marbling on that. But generally speaking, when I do a recipe like this, I'd probably choose a leaner cut. You know, something like a tenderloin or a New York strip, because we don't really need all that much intramuscular fat when we're adding a super rich sauce on top, unless you want it to be super tasty. But what we're doing today is a blackened steak with a Gorgonzola sauce on top, which is something I saw my buddy Sheldon Mason do a few years back when we were cooking up in Montana with a bunch of other pit masters like Evan Leroy, Leonard Bertello, Wayne Miller, a whole bunch of great people. And the dish he made was a ribeye covered in a Cajun seasoning, blackened on a flat top with that lovely cheese sauce on top. And it was absolutely fantastic. And I've been wanting to recreate it ever since, especially because it's a really different take on a cut that I cook all the time, which is a steak, you know what I mean? But 90% of the times I'm cooking a steak, I'll just do salt and pepper, or lately, the old Chuds BBQ steak rub. Love this stuff. Not really trying to push it or anything like that. Just genuinely, that's what I use most of the time because it's super flavorful. But I really like the idea of doing the blackening technique on a steak, giving it a much different flavor profile and texture, just kind of spice things up a little bit. And like I said, when Sheldon did this, he reached for a Cajun seasoning, and for me, whenever I'm going for something with a little bit of kick, I grab the old Chuds BBQ snake bite. This is an all-purpose seasoning that's got a little more spice to it with some jalapeno and cayenne added, but it's also got a lot of black pepper in there. It should work out really well for a blackening rub, and I've done it on fish a few times, but again, I've never blackened a steak before, but this should work out perfectly. So, simply enough, we're just gonna get a nice even coating all over this thing. And usually I don't put rubs on steak unless it's a rub designed for steak, because like the paprika and stuff in there tends to burn under high heat, but because we're making a blackened steak today, that's kind of what we're after. Pat that in, flip it over, and do the other side. And of course, we're not gonna forget the sides, folks. This steak can take all the flavor we give it. Also, there's a little bit of vinegar powder in this rub, and it kind of tastes like a wing sauce, so that paired with a blue cheese sauce, I think is gonna be a winning combination. Beep, 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 beep. And that is looking pretty much perfect to me. And one concern I have about doing a blackened steak like this is that when I put this on a hot flat top, all the powdery rub will kind of stick to the flat top and pull away from the meat, which very well may still happen. But to try and mitigate that problem, I'm gonna set this on a wire rack in the fridge for the next hour or so to let the salt kind of pull some moisture out and really help that rub adhere, while simultaneously letting all these flavors sink into the meat. And if you wanna get a ribeye steak just like that one, head over to the sponsor of this video, Porter Road. Porter Road is an online butcher shop based out of Nashville, Tennessee that has a wide variety of really high quality meats. All their pork is pasture raised and super tasty, and if you've never had quality pork, it is so much better than any of the commodity stuff you're gonna get at the grocery store. Also, all their beef is whole carcass dry aged, which really concentrates the beefy flavor, but it's not too dry aged where it's super funky tasting, and they really hit that sweet spot. And I mean, look at the quality of that. The marbling is just so good. Definitely excited for this one. And they carry all the barbecue cuts like beef ribs, briskets, pork butts, as well as all your grilling favorites like pork chops, ribeyes, picanhas. And on top of that, they also carry a lot of the butcher cuts that you're not gonna see very often, like oxtail, marrow bones, pork jowl, and everything I've had from them has been super fantastic. And if you've never bought meat online before, it is super convenient. You simply go to their website, see what they have in stock, add it to your cart, and they'll ship it right to your door. And their shipping department is doing a great job because, true story, with these steaks that I bought, they showed up at my house when I was here, and I thought Brooke was gonna find them and bring them in, but she did not, and then I got home that night and I also forgot. So the next morning, like 15 hours later, I was sitting on my porch in the Texas heat. I thought they were ruined, but I opened the box and everything was still ice cold, which was very convenient. So good job, Porter Road, on that one. I've been cooking Porter Road meats for years at this point, and I can't recommend it enough. And if you want to give it a try for yourself, click my link in the description box of this video, taking you to porterroad.com, where using my link, you can save 15% off your order. Again, that's not your first order, that's for everybody. So if you haven't had Porter Road in a while and you want 15% off, click my link in the description box down below. Highly recommend it. But while we wait for that steak to dry brine in the fridge, we got a little time to kill, so I think it's time for another episode of Bones Try Something Weird.
I'm excited for this one.
What's on the menu today, buddy?
It's gefilte fish.
I don't think I knew that was a real thing.
I knew it was real, but I had no idea what it was.
I gotta tell you, it doesn't look appetizing.
Nope.
Look at the scum on the bottom. It's like a bunch of sponges in a jar.
Yeah, it looks like fish meatballs.
Mmm.
Fish balls, if you will.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. Weird.
That definitely has a smell to it.
I can't tell if it's good or bad.
Yeah. Which is always a good sign for things you're about to eat.
Oh, yeah.
What is that?
Okay.
It's spongy.
One for you, one for me, because we're definitely going to eat full.
full fillets, full patties. I don't know what's going on.
Ingredients. I'm gonna close this before I tip it over.
Thank you.
Silver carp, onions, matzo meal, potatoes, egg white, potato flakes.
So it's a potato fish ball.
Yeah.
It smells like, you know, dog food, like most of the things we eat here.
It's a really weird texture.
Looks it.
It's like very soft. I'm gonna cut that down one more. Not fishy at all, which is weird. That's a little fishy. Almost tastes like a pork meatball, but with a tinge of fish.
A porky fish meatball out of a jar at room temp.
Yeah. Texture is the worst part. It just kind of melts.
All right. Oh, yeah. Good little sponge factor to it. All right. Gefilte fish. It's really soft meatloaf. Kind of tastes like meatloaf. Like, put a little ketchup on that. Ugh. It's got a cafeteria food vibe to it.
Yeah. I feel like it's not flavorful enough.
Yeah, it's definitely not offensive. It's just kind of bland meets weird, and the texture is rough.
Not very fishy, right?
Definitely not fishy. Should we sear some off?
Goes well with horseradish or mayo.
Opposite ends of the spectrum. I was going to say horseradish. Yeah, that'll add a lot of flavor, but then mayo.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it.
We should bring these to a barbecue festival, just serve them as is.
Just cover them in pepper.
Yeah.
You won't know.
Weird. Next up, let's go ahead and bust out a quick creamy Gorgonzola sauce. Start them going into a pan with some butter and get that melting down. Also gonna go in with a little squeeze of some olive oil here just to make sure the butter doesn't burn. And once nicely melted, in we go with one shallot and get that cooking down and softening up. Nice fine dice on those shallots so they turn translucent very quickly. And then in we go with our garlic. And again, just cook that for a couple minutes till it's translucent and smelling really good, but we don't want anything to brown or burn on us. Nothing better than shallots and garlic cooking down in some butter, folks, I tell you what. And once all the veg is cooked down, in we go with some white wine. Add a little bit of acidity to the party. And we're gonna let this reduce down by a good amount, at least half, just on medium heat. And once that is all reduced down, it's still looking a little soupy in there, but we got rid of most of that, reducing it down, concentrating the flavors. And now we go in with our heavy cream. And bring that back up to a simmer. Oh, it's smelling so good. A few more things going in is a little shot of some Worcestershire sauce and our Gorgonzola cheese. I popped this block into the freezer for a little bit just to get nice and firm to try and get a nice clean grate on it, and it worked pretty well, but you really just need to crumble this up. And then we're gonna get that right on in there. Just fold it in, make sure everything is nice and melted, and it should start thickening up. And once up to a simmer and that cream is reduced down a little bit and this sauce is coming together, all the cheese is melted. I'm gonna go ahead and taste and adjust. Wing. Oh, that is so good. I swear it's not as stinky blue cheesy as you may think. But to finish it off, I'm gonna go in with a little pinch of salt. That cheese is pretty salty, so we don't need to add too much. Go in with a little bit of freshly cracked black pepper, some freshly chopped parsley, and a pinch of chives as well. And get that all stirred in. And to add a little more cheesy zip, I'm gonna go in with a little bit of Parmesan as well right at the end, just to add that kind of nice cheesy nuttiness to it. But at this point, taste it and adjust to your salt preferences, and our super easy Gorgonzola cream sauce is done. And I'm telling you, this stuff is so good. It'll thicken up a little bit more as it cools down. That looks like it's gonna be really nice poured over some steaks. And with our cheese sauce done, all we gotta do now is grill off that steak. So let's go ahead and fire up the pit. Got the old Chud grill here fired up. Got this griddle ripping hot, clocking in right around 550, coming up to 600 degrees, which should be good. So I'm gonna go down with a nice healthy spray of some Wagyu beef tallow. Make sure it's nice and oiled up. And then on with our steak. This was in the fridge for probably an hour or two. All that rub is definitely adhered nicely. Now all we gotta do is get a nice sear. Bust out the old steak weight, pop that on there to make sure we get a nice even crust, and begin the blackening process. Not usually a weight on the steak kind of guy, but because we got that bone in there, I want to make sure we have even contact, and hopefully it doesn't come out looking too blackened and everyone's gonna say that it's burnt, but I guess we'll find out. Whew, smell the spices in that rub already. Then a couple minutes, let's go ahead and flip this over and see how we're looking. Ooh, yeah, that's definitely blackened. I'm gonna get roasted by the comments, I can tell. But again, that's what we're aiming for, folks. Go ahead and get that fat cap seared off too, because we're not gonna forget any of the sides, folks, even when searing, especially when searing. I will say, I kind of like this method because whenever I'm cooking a steak, I'm always aiming for the darkest crust anyway, so we get that really nice Maillard reaction and all that flavor, but I've never got it this dark this quickly. So if this tastes good, I might have to keep the blackened steak around for a little bit. And just like that, this thing is looking good, rocking around 118. So I'm gonna pull this off to the side here and let it rest down a little bit. Actually, I'm gonna pop it on this tray to collect all the juices, but that's what she's looking like, and it'll definitely carry over to probably that 130 range. Already climbing in temps, it's only been a couple of minutes, but we're already up to 125. So I'm gonna bring this inside. And fresh off the grill, this has rested down for about 10-15 minutes or so, and it is looking dark. Definitely looks a little darker on camera, but looking nice and juicy. Got some good crust on there. Kind of looks like you used one of those charcoal seasonings on there, but let's go ahead and slice this up. Feeling nice and tender. Beautiful sear on that all over. But to carve this up, first things first, we're gonna zip this off the bone, yoink, and then we're just gonna go right down the steak. Nice little shot of the center there. Looking nice and medium rare. Pretty happy about that. Decent edge to edge too. Looking good to me, folks. Love that crust, love that cook. Let's just hope it tastes all right. But to finish this off, we're gonna grab some of our sauce we made earlier and just do a nice little shingling right down the top. We can always dip more in if we want, but tell you one thing, I haven't made a spicy blue cheese steak before, and I'm liking the way it's smelling. And to finish it off, just because I've got them, go down with a little bit of chives as well. Gotta love that garnish. Beautiful. And there it is, all plated up, folks. A beautiful medium rare dark crust, spicy blackened ribeye with a cheesy Gorgonzola cream sauce. Let's go ahead and see how this came out. To kick things off, I got a little bite of the cap here with no sauce on it. I just want to see how that meat tastes with all that rub on there and that blackened process, so let's go for it. Whoa, that is spectacular. It's really not as in your face as I would have guessed, you know? With all that rub, and especially being a spicy rub, I thought that would have a little bit more kick to it, but it's quite pleasant, very flavorful, perfectly salted. Let's go for one more. I never would have guessed snake bite on a steak would work so well, but there's a slight bitter note at the front, I think probably because it's so blackened, but it fades away really quick once the spices and the flavors from the rub come through, and of course, that juicy tender meat shining through, but I'm liking that quite a bit. I gotta do that more often, and it should pair perfectly with a little Gorgonzola cream sauce. Whoa. That's a luxurious bite. There's just so much flavor going on with that sauce. You know, it's funky, it's salty, it's rich, and it pairs so perfectly with a nicely grilled steak. And I know not everyone out there is a blue cheese lover, but this one really isn't as blue cheese funky as you'd imagine, because it's balanced with a lot of cream and that white wine reduction and the herbs in there. Very tasty. That being said, if you don't like blue cheese, I don't think you will like that. Just can't get over snake bite on a steak. Just the balance of the rub. Like I said, there's a little vinegar powder in there, there's a little bit of heat in there, and then of course salt, pepper, a little garlic in there. Really works out quite well. That meat is so tender too. Perfectly marbled, nice and juicy. A little bit of that Porter Road dry aged funk mixed with the funk of the snake bite and the blue cheese. This is a winning bite. Nick, would you like to try a snake bite griddled steak covered in a Gorgonzola sauce?
Yeah, sounds really weird, but it also sounds great.
Yeah, that was kind of my thought as well. Snake bite on a steak. We've had that rub for years at this point. Never tried it.
Never on beef. Wow, that is really good. It's not really that spicy, but definitely has that little tinge of the heat.
Yeah, I was expecting it to be pretty spicy because I put a lot of rub on there, but it's seasoned perfectly.
Yeah.
There's a little background heat, but it's mostly just complex.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm usually just a pretty simple rub guy, or, you know, salt and pepper on steaks, but I like it a lot.
Yeah, the bitterness from the blackened, it pairs well with the sauce.
Right.
Because the salt really helps with cutting the bitterness.
It's I know I say this a lot, but it genuinely is a lot better than I was expecting it to be.
Perfect cooked on there too.
I was worried about that with all the horns throwing me off outside.
Yeah, that was awful.
Oh my God.
This is a totally different steak experience.
I was just gonna say the exact same thing. It's still a really good medium rare steak, but it's a completely different flavor profile than what we're after most of the time.
Absolutely.
Remember earlier when I said, should I cook one or two? Probably should have done two. Yeah, we gotta start messing around with steaks, because we cook a lot of steaks around here, and we always do the same thing.
Keep it simple, because that's all you need to do.
Yeah, you let the beef speak, but at the same time, like, this isn't as overpowering as I would have guessed.
Yeah.
And it's just a lovely way to eat a steak, because it's still nice and beefy.
Yeah,
That's good.
Not covering anything up.
We've done blackened chicken, blackened fish. I like it though. I'm gonna make it again soon.
Please.
Okay. And with this very last perfectly medium rare bite of ribeye, I think it's time for the official taste test. All right, y'all, and that is it. That is how to make some absolutely fantastic blackened ribeyes with a cheesy Gorgonzola sauce. I highly recommend giving this one a try, and even if you're not a fan of Gorgonzola, using this blackening technique on a steak is a really cool idea, and really what's not to like about a super dark, flavorful crust? Will I make every steak like this moving forward? Probably not, but it really is a nice change of pace when I want something a little bit differently that still eats and tastes just like a steak, but just with a little extra punch of flavor. And if for some reason you have a really low-powered stove or something and you want to get a good crust on your steak, this is a great technique for that as well. And definitely something I'll be making again very soon. But all that being said, if you enjoyed this video, let me know by hitting that subscribe button. Let YouTube know by dropping a like on this video. If you do give this recipe a try for yourself, be sure to tag me on Instagram at Chuds BBQ. I'd love to see what y'all are cooking. Big shout out to all the Team Chud members. Thank you for supporting this channel and allowing me to keep making all these videos. And until the next time I see you, please go cook something outside. Peace.